While the body was set aside to cure, I moved onto the interior and chassis. All the parts were cut out of the sprues, some of the mold lines were removed, and the attachment points from the sprues as well. I could then stick them on some parts and in some crocodile clips. I have links to all those in the description down below, and then start on priming and painting them in various different colors. Apart from a couple of small silver parts, pretty much everything else was painted matte black, including all the interior pieces, and all the additional details were added on later with some brushes and Vallejo paints. On the dashboard and door panels there are a couple of trim pieces which are painted in a titanium silver looking color. I decided to mix some silver with gunmetal and actually turned out to be pretty close to the actual color, and carefully started applying it with a brush on those parts art on the dashboard and also on the door panels. As you can see, I also applied some flocking to the carpet and also the rear tray. I didn't really film it as I've done that a couple of times before and will probably do it again in the future. There are multiple videos on my channel on how this is done, so feel free to check those out as well. So just like the interior, the chassis is pretty basic as well. Most of it was painted black, and the exhaust and some of the engine pieces needed to be painted silver, just simply done with a brush and some regular silver paints. Now, I didn't really do any weathering. I'm going to ask the customer if he's fine with it this way or wants a bit more depth and maybe even a bit more damage and weathering, but we'll see. I'll ask him and we'll probably do that in the next video. Some other small details like the calipers needed to be painted black, the main part was painted silver, and then I just carefully brushed around it to nicely detail the calipers with some black paint. For a bit more detail on the interior, there are also a couple of decals supplied in the kit for on the steering wheel and also the gauge cluster. There are some decals for the Recaro seats as well. These were in silver. The customer specifically asked for white ones. Luckily, I still had some, so I took those out and applied those to the seats as well. With all of the parts and pieces painted, detailed, the decals added, they are all ready to be assembled, so I started doing that with some super glue from Bob Smith Industries. And there you have it. That's pretty much it for the chassis and interior. Both really simply, not that detailed parts and components, though it looks really nice put together with a couple of the details that I added. And once put onto the body, it can't really be seen anyways. Yet again, I'm going to ask the customer if he wants a bit more weathering and depth on the chassis, but that's pretty much all I'm going to be doing to it. After this one, I'm going to move on to finishing off the body, adding a lot of details, and pretty much finishing up this entire build.